Well, it's not often that I get to go in front of my good friend George Chow, the MLA for Vancouver Fraserview. But George, if you don't mind, I will speak before you as a member of the current provincial government. I'm Michael Lee, the MLA for Vancouver Langara. 大家好，我是李欧华，温哥华兰加的省区省议员。I very much appreciate the invitation to join today's forum, and I know that with Chris and Henry's leadership, this is an organization that has come together to really bring so many leaders. Obviously, we have the consul representatives here from many of the South Asian countries here. To be present, but I do believe that the effort to bring together so many of the business representatives, business people, community leaders, including from Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Philippines, and Vietnam, Myanmar, and of course China, is so important. I know that when my father came from Hong Kong in 1953, like so many of you, he came here to build a better future for your children and your families. And we continue to do that. This is now 70 years for my family in this country, here in Chinatown. My father living as a student in Chinatown while he was going to university at UBC. And we know with many international students today that we see the strength of our education system in the province of British Columbia, that we continue to welcome international students who want to continue their studies here in our country with the strong universities like UBC, SFU, Langara College, which is located in my riding of Vancouver Langara. That international exchange of education, culture, and learning is very important. And that's how many students came here. As I hear my good friend Don Davies talk about the importance of the trade relationship, I'm reminded by examples of students who've come here to study and then invited their families to invest. One of those examples is a family that invested in Skeena Sawmills in Terrace, BC. They took a forestry operation, a sawmill, out of care and maintenance from West Fraser Products. And they had maybe 5 employees. They invested, they started up the sawmill again, and employed over 100 people. They have forest tenure in the terrace area, and they were able to, of course, ship the hardwoods out through Prince Rupert Port to China, and Asia. We know tremendously the short routes of the important transportation infrastructure we have in this province at Prince Rupert Port, down here on Roberts Bank, and the Vancouver Port Corporation as well. And so that was an example of, I believe, how we continue to want to welcome that kind of investment and capital into our province. Regrettably, of course, with the challenges with the forest industry, Skeena Sawmills has recently shut down. But in the midst of that, they did put a pellet plant. They were very much into how to create energy. So there's lots of good value-added examples that Don talked about that we see the importance of in our country. As you may well know, I'm also the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. And let me say that I bring greetings on behalf of Kevin Falcon, the leader of the official opposition and the BC Liberal Party, as well as my good friend Teresa Watt, the member for North Vancouver, Richmond North Centre, who is also a former Minister of Trade, like George Chow. And we know that when we've had people like Teresa and George in those roles, that they've wanted to continue to support the trade relationships. But I also know, as a former lawyer here in British Columbia, working with forestry, mining, energy, and technology companies in the province of BC, that there's much opportunity for people like yourselves. The true asset that we have is actually people, the relationships, the expertise, the connections, to want to utilize that. And I believe that the province of BC and our government of Canada ought to be supporting more of your initiatives. Because what we have to do is recognize that what a strength of our province is the diversity, but also the know-how and the understanding of when people come and build futures here, that they have those cross-cultural relationships that are important, and that we continue to want to support those who look at exporting products back to Southeast Asia, and obviously technology and know-how coming back the other way. We know that in the pandemic there's been much challenge with our supply chain systems, and that those transportation networks have been under strain. But again, I do believe that as we continue to reinvest in our capital infrastructure, such as in roads and highway systems, eventually a replacement for the George Massey Tunnel, which is the largest bottleneck in the province. 80,000 British Columbians are stuck in that bottleneck every day, and that project unfortunately was delayed by another 10 years. I think we have to stop playing the politics and do more things to strengthen what is good for our economy and our infrastructure, because just as we want to reinvest in education and healthcare, care for seniors, care for children, in childcare, early childhood education, we need to be able to ensure that we have a strong economic backbone. And as you may well know, Kevin Falcon has been a past Deputy Premier, Minister of Finance, Minister of Transportation, and in those capacities, he built a lot of the infrastructure in our province, including the Canada Line, which goes from downtown Vancouver to the airport. It's an important example of how we need to get people moving. So today, I hope that you have a very good discussion. I look forward to continuing to support the work of this association under Chris and Henry and others' leadership. I know in talking to Chris over some time how it is so important that we look beyond just one particular country's relationship, that we need to look across Southeast Asia. We need to look at all the other countries in Southeast Asia locally. I know we do that from a trade relationship in the ways that Don talked about, structurally on the trade policies and the trade agreements. But again, I do believe, particularly my focus here in the province of BC, is to support organizations and gatherings like yourselves, to have the dialogue and hopefully have the voice as you recommend changes to our own government's policy here in British Columbia. We have opportunity to hear from that, and I know that George and others will take that back as we look at how do we strengthen our economic future here in the province of BC. So again, I congratulate all of the organizers of today's forum. I wish you very well in your dialogue today, and I look forward to hearing some of it as I'm able to participate in some of this as you have the rest of your program today. So thank you very much. Thank you.